Hello there everybody, What Culture's Adam Cleary here, a man so synonymous for his problematic relationship with the game of Football Manager that he has been the source of study in both books and documentaries about the time the police were called on him because his next door neighbour thought he was being loudly murdered by a pair of burglars. He wasn't though, that's not what he was doing, he was just playing the UEFA Cup final on a very old save of Football Manager. Not a single word of that is embellished, by the way. My life is a joke. And of course, with current world circumstances being as they are, did get me thinking, what would the ultimate Football Manager game look like? And it is worth thinking about that because while the actual football season is still ongoing and still has much up in the air still to be decided, the next season of world football is supposed to be coming around very soon, which means with it, the next installment of Football Manager shouldn't be far behind. We are definitely in that window of starting to imagine what FM21 should be. And imagine I have, because as well as striking a balance on new features and refining the existing ones, we're just very close, aren't we? We're now very close to the ultimate Football Manager game, and it wouldn't take too much to get us there. In fact, I think we could do it with just 10 features. In fact, I'm going to demand 10 features because my name is Adam Cleary and this is FM21, 10 features fans demand. Number 10, the inclusion of set-piece coaches. Of all the things Jurgen Klopp has been rightly praised for during his time at Liverpool, my personal favourite just being that lovely smile and the way he does that laugh in press conferences, the major one has been overhauling Liverpool's approach to set pieces. Basically, he came in the club, he saw that they had some deadly technicians, but then looked at the stats, they were massively underperforming in all those areas, so he hired specialist set-piece coaches for corners, free kicks and throw-ins. Free kicks and throw-ins, that's actually how I just said that. Was this a good idea? Well, Liverpool went from being one of the most underperforming sides in the entire league for scoring goals from set pieces to literally the best side in the Premier League. They got 29 goals last season from set pieces, that is 8 more than Spurs, who were in second. That is an extraordinary turnaround, and it's one that should be available to you in Football Manager. Now, Sports Interactive have always prided themselves on having the finger on the proverbial pulse of management trends and techniques, and this is definitely something that's going to be replicated by other clubs around the world going forward. So you on your save should be allowed to go and hire Jimmy boot bags to redo all your throw-ins. There you go. Number 9, some clarity on what shouts actually do. Now here is one of the biggest discrepancies between the world of actual football managing and the world of football managing. You go to any game around the world at any level, Elite, Champions League, Premier League, all the way down to Sunday League with 2 men and his dog watching on the sidelines, you will see managers on that touchline barking out orders. It's just the human condition. Thus, Football Manager introduced the option to shout at your players in the game using the rather handy shout function, and pretty much nobody uses that because nobody has any idea whatsoever what it actually does. Now, I'm sure that Sports Interactive would say that the reason shouts are very hard to quantify and largely quite ineffective is because that's what shouting does in real life. You can bark orders at a load of footballers till you are blue in the face on a touchline. Doesn't mean anything's going to actually happen. How many times have you seen a manager shouting for someone to be marked, only for said player to then not be marked and score a goal and throw their hands in the air? So that is, in a way, realistic, but they need to do something to encourage people to actually use it. I don't actually have a solution for this. You can't have shouts be effective all the time. You can't have Sports Interactive tell you what shouts do what exactly, because that's not how actual shouting works, but just they need to give us something to get our teeth into with this. They need to tell us what they are supposed to do and what their rate of effectiveness is. They need to allow us to apply a bit of science to it, is what I would like. Number 8, taking charge of a youth team to start your managerial career. Yeah, alright, I will admit this is a bit of a strange one because if you manage a youth team, you lose your ability to do transfers, you lose complete control over the club, you get rid of about 2/3 of what it means to be a manager of a football team. You just literally pick a squad and send them out week on week, and your results don't even matter all that much. But Football Manager prides itself on realism, and until you can go manage a youth team, an under-21 team, a B team, whatever, it will not have proper realism. It is where so many managers learn their trade. It would be great to have in game. Couple of benefits to this, right? First of all, it's a good introduction to the game itself if you're not a hardcore or long-term player. You basically learn how to set out formations, how to get the best out of players without having to worry too much about all the other stuff. Secondly, if you like to think of Football Manager as both a micromanagement simulator and also a role-playing game, because after all you do take on a character and go through loads of aspects of its life, being able to forge bonds with players at youth level who then follow you throughout your career is a great thing to add to that. I can't say I would use this feature all that much, but I would love to give it a go. And what better way to play the game than to take your favourite club, go in at the bottom level and slowly work your way up through the club before working the club up the reaches of success. Alright, you know what, I take it back. I would play like that, get it in. Number 7, bunch notifications together. Now, I know I did just say the Football Manager needs to pride itself on its realism, and I am aware that if you were a real Football Manager, you would spend so much of your day just going through all the messages you get about the youth team, about the reserve team, about your individual players, from the coaches, about training, scouting, board stuff, other competitions. Yes, it is actually very realistic to sit there and just hit spacebar for 20 minutes every single day, but also let's streamline that a little bit. Or maybe not even streamline it a little bit, just give players the ability to control how streamlined it is, because a lot of managers in the real world are quite hands-off with all this stuff. They don't want to know. They're just going to go do training, pick the team, then manage them on a Saturday, whereas some managers, they like to have complete say over every single element of their club. They should allow players to change the notification settings so you can either skip past them and just get the highlights from your assistant, or you can go into each one of them individually and go, ah yes, I, the man with the power and the control, I will be the one who fixes that. Just a bit of choice, please. Number 6, have player potential be more dynamic in-game. Ah yes, a rare nod of appreciation. There you go, that was that from a Football Manager player to the game of FIFA, because this was something they actually fixed in a recent version. Basically, right, all players have built-in stats and a ceiling that they are capable of hitting, provided you can get the maximum out of their development. You know the one, it's the 4.5, 5-star youth prospect, and if you just work on him really well, you can be one of the best players in the Premier League. We love that, we love developing these players, but there are examples of the other side of the coin. What about all those players out there who were never destined for greatness, who were never thought of having a lot of potential, but somehow managed to get it anyway? What about all the Jamie Vardys out there? Players who were supposed to be just really fast, good goal-scoring non-league players who go on to be one of the most lethal strikers in Premier League history. Loads of examples of players who followed their own clubs up through the lower leagues and have found themselves able to compete at every single level they get to. Christ, Southampton, when they came back into the Premier League, their entire team was made up of players who Liverpool were going to spend 30 million on, but they picked up for next to nothing in the lower leagues because nobody really rated them that highly. Look, all I'm saying is don't set this stuff in stone. If players have got really good attributes, let them develop the rest of their game to make them capable of competing at the highest levels, even if they've only got like 2-star potential, because these stories are as interesting as the wonder kids who you manage to turn into the next Messi. Number 5, dual registrations for non-league teams. Tiny little caveat this, but anybody who likes to play games as non-league sides, or even start games as non-league sides and either work their personal way or the club's way up to the big time, knows that this is one thing the game has overlooked. In proper Sunday league, you can register for as many teams as you like, provided they don't play in the same league. It allows you to borrow good players from better sides, or even develop other players from other teams, or even, in some cases, just get an 11 out consistently week on week. You can't do that in Football Manager, and they should add it, in my opinion. Number 4, more customization. Look, right, yes, I understand that loads of Football Manager players will tell you that their asymmetrical 4-2-3-1 formation with inverted wingers is the reason they've been able to take on and defeat Europe's elite every single time they've played the game. But what they won't admit, these nerds, is that it's equally as fun to just make your manager look like you, isn't it? I lost my absolute nut when they first brought in the ability to create your own manager. Have them wear a suit, have them wear a tracksuit, depends how you feel. And I lost my nut again when they let you start scanning your face into there. But this is a game that prides itself on realism, and this does not look realistic. So a few improvements to the creative suite I think are necessary just to get it to look like actual you and not weird, haunted Duplo toy version of you, as well as the ability to change your background, your coaching history, more elements of your personality. And I have said this for years, right? But every single season, I should be presented with an option of 3 new away kits from the kit manufacturer, and I should get to pick which one. Obviously, your home kit, that's never going to change, but your away kit and your third kit change every single season. I want to be able to pick it. Number 3, historical FM. Now, surely this must be something that Sports Interactive are actually thinking about, given that loads of people recently downloaded, I think, Championship Manager 4 or 3 and began playing the game in the 90s. Because while the user interface was stripped back, while it was nowhere near the same game we all know and love, it was really fun to go back in time and try and change the course of footballing history. So why not have a game mode dedicated entirely to a different era in footballing history? Go back to the birth of the Premier League and the addition of super money into the world's leagues. Or you could go back to the turn of the century, the very invention of tactics itself. Have everyone playing the WM formation and you just rock up the man of the future and hit them with 4-3-3. Would that not be fun? Would it not be nice to have these tiny little realised sprites in very baggy shorts with big heavy balls? Footballs? Yeah, alright, you probably would need an entire new database built from scratch for this, but also, given that nobody really knows who was playing for Preston North End in 1902, you could just randomise it and make it up and just make sure the aesthetic worked and the press was all correct and the kind of things you had to deal with. You could build the game, you wouldn't have to build the engine, is all I'm saying. Do it, please. Number 2, improve player interactions. Now, credit where it's due here, Sports Interactive added so many new layers to this over recent editions. They have players asking you every single question of every different personality type, but more often than not, the avenue they always go down is incredibly frustrating. I can't hear you saying, but Adam, they're literally footballers. They're people plucked out of school as a teenager, given all the money in the world and told they can have whatever they want out of life. Of course they're all awful dickheads, but not all of them are. Some are really, really nice, and you never seem to meet them in Football Manager. Now, yes, I'm not saying they should write out the line of code that makes all young prospects want to dislodge first team members and then throw their toys out the pram when you're like, no, you're not even that good yet, sorry. But also, why don't they just add the ability to have really reliable, dependable squad members go to bat for you when everybody else falls out? I think they've got the bad side of player interactions right. I would just like to see them add to the good side. Number 1, more realistic AI transfers. Yeah, alright, fair enough, this might be completely impossible because there is nothing realistic about the way football transfers have developed over the last 10 years. If you'd been playing a game of Football Manager 2009 and things were where they are now, with like a second choice goalkeeper costing you 30 million, someone who's played 10 games in the Premier League costing you 50, you'd have been like, well, this is stupid, isn't it? But it really happened. Now, I'm a Newcastle United fan. We spent 40 million on Joe Linton. He has scored 1 goal, and you would actually struggle to argue that we paid over the odds for that, because that's just what a footballer costs now. I hate it. However, there are some improvements Football Manager can make to this, because you so seldom get a bargain in the transfer market on this game. Anybody who is worth 50 million will go for at least 50 million after the club initially asks you for about 250 on your first approach. You never get players who just want to go and are allowed to leave for next to nothing. You've either got to get them on a free when their contract expires or get your hand right down the back of that sofa and bring out filthy, filthy sums of lucre. I don't actually know what I am specifically asking for here out of this game because, yeah, the transfer system on it is terrible and broken, but so is the transfer system in real life. So, yeah, just the odd bargain, I guess. That'd be nice. So, there you have it. Those are 10 improvements for FM21 that I, a fan, am demanding. Now, we can do this civil like Sports Interactive, but if not, well, then I might do another video called 10 New Features Fans Sternly Demand. Anyway, let me know what you made of it all in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Welcome back to What Culture Football! Didn't go anywhere. We just didn't do it for a while. Anyway, nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. See you soon. Don't watch the documentary.